2 weeks ago, the first 300 finalists for the Pokemon Trading Card Game Illustration Contest 2024 were announced, and the results were less than satisfactory. Although most of the entries were beautiful, well-crafted pieces made by talented artists, there were a couple that somehow slipped through the cracks and made it past the Pokemon Company's supposedly thorough checks. I made a YouTube video going over all of the drama at the time, mostly looking at the artwork submitted by 4 artists in Vegan K, Vigo K, Vigo Cachadorian, and Vegan Cachadorian, which some people pointed out might just be the same person. This individual allegedly uploaded their artwork under multiple aliases, which is very much so against the rules of the contest, as written here. This alone would be bad enough, but this guy allegedly decided to take it even further with the aid of the supervillain of the art world, AI art. Artists like me, as well as the rest of the internet users with functioning pairs of eyes, have analyzed this guy's art to death, as well as a couple of other entries, and naturally, we went to Twitter to voice our disappointment in the not just ignorance of the issue, but the seeming approval, since all 6 of Vigo's entries were deemed worthy of the top 300. Since the upload of my video, I've seen so much support for the real artists that entered the competition, as well as more beautiful designs that were looked over for AI crap. Not just this, but I've also been made aware of more likely AI entries in this Pikachu and Eevee. These 2 poor Pokemon seem to be where by far the majority of the cheaters are. I suspect this is because they're more popular Pokemon and such simple designs that the generators have less of a problem spitting them out than, say, a Koraidon or Toxtricity. Unfortunately, in this whole AI firestorm, there's also been some unlucky artists caught in the crossfire. This artist had some backlash when the results were announced, as people were accusing them of AI, even though they state that they've never used generative AI in their artwork, and their portfolio supports their claims. This poor artist simply has an art style similar to those imitated by AI, and I want to urge everyone watching this video to do their research before they put artists on blast. When it comes to cases like Vigo, it seems incredibly cut and dry, which is why I feel comfortable to talk about it. However, there are a few entries that, although I personally feel a little bit skeptical of, I would never publicly put on blast because the evidence just isn't strong enough. Always check an artist's portfolio before you accuse them of anything. AI harms artists in many ways, and this is just another. A reminder that I urge everyone watching not to harass anyone I mention in this video. And if you love artists and want to help one out, you could hit the subscribe button down below. I just hit 25,000 subs, and 50,000 by the end of the year would be nice. The reason I'm making an update video now is that we finally had some news from Pokemon themselves. Amazingly, they've actually listened to all of the feedback and negative press that they've received. And on the 25th of June, they put out this notice on their Twitter saying, "We are aware that select entrants from the top 300 finalists of the Pokemon TCG Illustration Contest 2024 have violated the official contest rules. As a result, entrants in violation of the rules have been disqualified from the contest. Furthermore, additional artists participating in the contest will soon be selected to be among the top 300 finalists. We are committed to upholding the integrity of the Pokemon TCG Illustration Contest and appreciate fans' continued support as we celebrate the artistic abilities of the talented Pokemon community." This response implies that they've taken the public feedback and will be removing the entrants that infracted upon their rules, and will be replacing them with ones that are, hopefully, blatantly not against the rules this time. What was not made clear, however, is what the Pokemon Company considers against the rules. Earlier today, the top 300 list was finally updated with the new entries, and the disqualifications were made public, and the entries by Vigo K are gone! All 6 of Vigo's entries have been disqualified, leaving 6 places free for deserving artists. As these entries clearly broke the rules on having more than 3 entries, I knew it was almost certain that they'd be disqualified, and I'm glad to see I was right. What was less certain is what would be done about the entries that were made with AI. In the rules of the Pokemon TCG Illustration Contest, at no point is AI even mentioned. I've had comments speculating that this could be due to AI having less of an impact in the East. If I have any viewers from Japan who could confirm this in the comment section, I'd love to see what you think about this and how AI has affected your region. In the West, certainly, it's been difficult to go 5 minutes in the art world without seeing AI mentioned. What is mentioned in the rules, however, is that entrants must not contain material that violates or infringes another's rights, including but not limited to material that violates privacy, publicity, or intellectual property rights, or that constitutes copyright infringement. This essentially means that all entrants must not contain any copyrighted material, and that the entrant must have the sole rights to the art so that Pokemon will be able to use the art safely in the future. The problem here being that AI art, as of June 2024, cannot lawfully be copyrighted. The laws are incredibly unclear at present time. In a series of decisions and guidance issued in 2023, the USCO has clarified that works created with substantial AI input are not eligible for copyright protection in the United States. Since 1973, it has been the official position of the USCO that in order to benefit from copyright protection, works must be attributable to a human agent. Under the new guidance, AI-generated content that is more than de minimis should be explicitly identified and excluded from registration. In other words, the human-made aspects of AI-generated works, such as prompt instructions, are eligible for copyright protection. However, while any output from, such as images in a text-to-image model like Midjourney, are not. The US's stance, therefore, is that although the written prompts inputted to programs like Midjourney can be copyrighted as they are examples of human literature, the resultant artwork itself cannot. This means that at present, in the US at least, AI art cannot be copyrighted, making it against the rules of the contest. But in a lot of other countries, it's a lot less cut and dry, however. As in countries like the UK, there are no clear rules in place. Since the technology is so new as well, it's likely that new legislation will soon be drawn up to cover the uses of AI art, but as of yet, for much of the world, it's still fairly lawless. According to Japanese law, there is copyright infringement in the AI output stage if the model's output is similar to someone else's work and reliant on someone else's work. Due to this, I can say for sure how I thought the Pokémon company would treat the AI entrants. And since I can't prove that any of the remaining entries are in fact AI or not, suspicious as they may be, I guess we'll just never know. No entries other than those submitted by vegan Cachadorian were disqualified. Interestingly, a lot of the entrants are, however, under different names, so I think there may have been more mistakes on Pokemon's end now that at least 10 entrants are now attached to different names, some of which were previously tagged with other artworks, and some of which are completely new. This naming mishap definitely doesn't help to paint the team responsible for the art contest in a good light, but isn't all that surprising considering they let one dude get away with at least 6 entries in the first place. Personally, I have a very negative bias towards AI. I understand that as a tool, it can be very useful in the process of creating art. Generative AI can be used in the design phase of art creation to help visualize early ideas and can be used in later processes for things like the content-aware tool in Photoshop based off of other parts of the existing artwork. My problem with AI is that it is used incredibly irresponsibly. AI models are made out of the uploaded artwork of thousands of unwilling artists who've had their work fed into a machine against their will, analyzed and spat out. There are cases where algorithms have been trained to imitate specific artists' work, some even posthumously, and cheap imitations of their life's work have been uploaded by someone who just put a few words into a machine that they didn't even make. Imagine if someone stole everything you ever made and had the audacity to say that they made it themselves. As time goes on, the AI gets better and better as it is fed more and more unconsenting artists' work, and it encroaches more and more into our lives. I went past a furniture shop in a local mall a few weeks ago, and they had these giant canvases in the window that were blatant AI. It's incredibly tiring to be surrounded and constantly reminded of something that threatens your and your community's livelihoods constantly, and it's not going to stop. AI is here to stay. I just hope that people start having the decency not to be assholes with it. Whew. Anyway, back to Pokemon! With all the doom and gloom of the AI and the cheating hopefully behind us, I want to use this part of the video to highlight the good that the contest has given us by looking at some of my favorite entries by doing a top 3 from every category. Hello everyone, it's me, bottom corner Phoebe. I don't know why I'm singing, but I'm here to have a little look at my favorite art from every single category except the EXs because there's only like 7 of them. Let's go. Now, when I said top 3, I kind of lied for this one because I actually picked 4 Absols and I also picked 5 Flygons, but the other ones are all top 3s. So first and foremost, we have this one by Basilisk Envy, and oh my god, the colors in this one are absolutely stunning. Like, look at this blue. It's so pretty. I love whatever brush they use. It's kind of pastel-y looking, and just all of the colors are very nice and they all flow together beautifully. And like, look at this little Sasuke, and there's a little Kippy in the corner too. I love that they've done these little star trails across the water to like imply ripple lines, and just the way that the water, it like moves around the moon and the little stars in the water. It's just gorgeous. And the way that Absol's just looking at the ground and he's got the moon reflected in his eyes. Oh, gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful artwork. However, it's not my favorite Absol. This is also not my favorite Absol, but it's in the top 4. We have this one by Reina Nakajima, and I know this one is super popular. This one, I think, is done in graphite or chalk, one of those two. So we have a nice traditional media piece. A lot of people would have gone for digital art, so like Photoshop or Procreate. So it's really nice to see some of these guys do like actual like pen on paper, well, pencil on paper, chalk on paper, charcoal on paper artwork. You can see how they've like etched into the black here to make these little like gray lines here, and they've left bits of it unchalked for the background. And then just the eyes, the vibes on this one are incredible. I know a lot of people have this in their like top 3 out of all of them. Oh, and for all of these, I have tried my best to find the social media tied to the artist. Honestly, I think that should be a prerequisite going in, because it would really help with exposure for these artists, because a lot of them, like, even though they have their art in the top 300, people just don't know who they are. I honestly, like, I tried to find these guys and I couldn't for a lot of them, so I have tried my best. Next up, we have this one by Yumo, and I absolutely adore the vibes on this artwork. Like, look at the background. It looks like an oil painting. It's so beautiful. I want to be in this little gardeny greenhouse area so bad. Honestly, the Absol itself is mostly good. I think the neck is a little bit long, but so he's like a little bit off model, but just the absolute vibes of this piece fully brought it back. Like, I love the sun dappling. You can see the texture in the fur. There's a little Moo Moo Milk bottle on the left, like the paint. Oh my god, it's so good. And like the berries in the background, got some leopards, some citrus. Gorgeous, stunning, very cool. But my favorite of the Absols is this one by Sakuragileo? Regardless of however you pronounce the name. Absolutely gorgeous artwork. Again, very limited color palette. It keeps mostly to these like very kind of muted blues and this like umber in the background for this like setting sun or whatever's going on. It looks like it's in the snow. My favorite part of this piece particularly are the swirls that they've used on the trees. Like, the texture is so gorgeous. Like the swirls along the trees, along the moon itself, and it ties so nicely. Absolutely gorgeous. That's my favorite Absol. Onto the Eevees. The Eevee category unfortunately got kind of shagged by having so many AI entries in it. However, there are still some entries I think are good. I really think that some of the entries that got in after Vigo's ones got taken out should have gone to the Eevee category, because now there are just so few of them, but it is what it is. Regardless, we have my first pick by Moko. Now, like the graphite one before, I think this is a actual piece of artwork where it's been done with pencils. I believe this is a colored pencil piece. You can see the textures and the lines and across the face where they could have sketched it. Very, very pretty. We have the Eevee surrounded by these big old petals, which are actually the colors of the evolutions. You got a little Umbreon down here, you got a Sylveon up here. Just absolutely stunning. I love the expression, the lighting, like the rim lighting on the butt. Very, very pretty, very cool. Thank you, Moko. Very nice. Second favorite Eevee is this one by Devin L. Kurtz. Now, Devin L. Kurtz is the only artist that got through to the top 300 who I recognized. I followed this guy for ages, and I actually, if we go into my brushes, if you look into my brush packs right at the top, we have this one by Devin L. Kurtz and this one down here. They do brush packs. So if you use Photoshop or Procreate, just go to their socials, follow the links, and get yourself some of those brushes, because they are so good. So good. Regardless of how good they are at brushes, they are also very good at art. Look at this little guy. Look, he's so happy to be there. He's just running. I love all of the dandelions, and my favorite part of this is just you can see the light shining from behind this Eevee with this beautiful halo of white rim light around it, and you can see the light coming through the ears with the lighter shades of red, implying that it's like, you know, when you shine a light bulb through skin, you know, it's so beautiful. Gorgeous artwork. And my number one favorite Eevee is this one by Sora. Just look at the immaculate vibes going on. The color palette is super summery, it's vibrant, it's bright, it's warm. I want to be there. I feel like the air just like smells delicious where these Eevees are. They are having just the absolute best day. The grass, the flora in this is what really did it. I love how the whole thing is sort of bluish with all its shading. It reminds me of like a summer's day. Maybe it's in the morning. Again, you've got beautiful light shining through. On the shadows, they have, what's it called? Is ambient occlusion? No. Whatever it is, whatever it's called when you have like a lot of saturation around bright lights. I'll try and find the term for it. But like outside of that, we got orange berries again. We got leopard berries. There's a little cherrim in the corner. Cherubi even. Just, it's so in the world of Pokemon. I adore this piece. Very good. This is, I think, one of my top 3 of all of them. I really hope it wins. Anyway, Eevee's done. On to the Gators. Now, Feraligatr got 2 new entries and already had a bunch of entries, so it was kind of difficult choosing my favorites, but we're starting off strong with this one by Joseph Rossal. Now, the reason that this one is in the top for my picks for Feraligatr is actually because this Feraligatr is so off-model. I adore it. Like, this is what happens when you have people who are like really good at drawing actual, like, anatomically correct creatures and animals. Like RJ Palmer is one I follow on Twitter. So this is someone who's used to drawing like dinosaurs and I guess real life crocodiles, trying to draw Feraligatr, and it actually got in. Like, I'm amazed that the Pokemon Company saw something so off model and let it in, but I'm so happy they did, because we get off model Feraligatr. I love him. He's got beautiful little scales. His head is way too small. His feet are all weird. He's great. 10 out of 10 vibes. Good job off model Feraligatr. I love you. Next, we have a more, well, I was gonna say a more on model Feraligatr, but it's kind of hard to be on model when you're so stylized. This piece by a Corvi Art, I think is digital, but it almost looks like it could be printed. It is absolutely stunning. This artwork looks like it belongs on, if anyone remembers the, oh God, what was it called? The Hidden Stitch? No, whatever. It was a collaboration that Pokemon had with a shirt company where you could get custom shirts for like £100. They were great. This looks like it belongs on those. So cool. Genuinely gorgeous. I love how the color varies when the different patterns overlap. Just everything is slightly offset from the line art. It is very interesting to look at. Big, cool, much like. Very nice. Next, my favorite Feraligatr is this one by Omatsu Mina. Oh my God. Like, this is such a limited color palette. Like, it's just the blues, the yellows, the pink, like just very limited, barely any shading. But what they've done with it is so pretty. It looks almost symmetrical, but if you look, the lines are actually kind of different. So I love how the whole thing is structured around the circle of the moon, and it's just this big old fisheye. It is, again, so interesting to look at. I love how they've shaded all of the highlights with this beautiful saturated yellow, and then the use of this like pink color and the blue from the Feraligatr throughout the piece is so clever. It really ties the whole thing together. I absolutely adore this piece. We have this one by Yoshima Yuga. Again, just immaculate vibes. I adore it so much. They've done a really good job of portraying depth with these like blurred backgrounds and foregrounds, and just the color of the grass I think is like maybe my favorite part of this piece. It's just, again, so vibrant. I love how the light is coming from behind the Koraidon, so most of it is actually in shadow. You just see the highlights across the edge, like here and here. I love how he's just staring intently at this Caterpie, like, what is this? And the Caterpie is like, I'm terrified. Oh God, I love Koraidon so much. I am a Pokemon Scarlet player. Koraidon is maybe my favorite Pokemon from the generation. He is called Puppy. I love him. I would die for Koraidon. That's all you need to know. Yuma, you talented person. I think this is objectively one of the most technically impressive pieces to be submitted for the Pokemon TCG illustration contest. It is so beautiful. Like, the level of detail that they've managed to get into this tiny little square is just immaculate. Like, we have this Lavesta, these 2 little Odyshes, there's some Yanmegas over here. Obviously, there's the Amoonguss, like, not the Amoonguss, the primal, oh God, what's it called? Mushroom. I'll remember when I edit this. It has all of these Pokemon, and then just the detail of all of these plants. It's gorgeous. Like, they're not like fully line arted, they're more implied with like more rough brush strokes. But then the Koraidon itself, fully on model. I can see this being actual TCG art. I love how the line art gets a bit lighter towards the light source. and it's darker towards the bottom. There's a little bit of like reflected light coming from the ground on the tail. This artist has just thought of everything. It is so, so beautiful, so immaculately done. And if it was not for this next entry, it would have easily been my favorite Koraidon. And again, one of my favorite ones overall. However, this exists. Sakanagi has created the best Koraidon I have ever seen out of every single one of them. I love him. I love him so much. Do you wanna know why? It's because you look at him and you know what sound he's making. He's going, ah! He's got, ah! He's so good, I love him. Like I was talking about how much I love the off model for Alligator. This is the king of being off model. Look at his mouth. He got, ah! So good, so, so good. Thank you so much, Sakanagi. I never knew I needed this in my life, and now I do, and I'm so much happier for it. Thank you. And it is, of course, my favorite Koraidon. Toxtricity is one that I loved so many submissions of because they're all just vibes. Like everyone looked at Toxtricity and they're like, okay, we're gonna make it a concert. It's gonna be chill. It's gonna be great. He's gonna be having fun. There's gonna be plenty of like friends for him to hang out with. It's gonna be bombastic. It's gonna be electric. It's gonna be lovely. And this is a good example of this. This is by Zeus. I am going to assume that's how you pronounce the name. And I love this one because most of the Toxtricities were very kind of like purplish, bluish, or yellowish with their color schemes, whereas this one went for red, which is just such a cool choice. It's like surrounded by all these city Pokemon, a lot of poison types, so it makes sense that it's kind of, I don't know, toxic looking somehow. It's just incredible, and everyone's having such a good time. Like, I adore the expression on this Gerda's face, specifically. Like, look at him, he's so happy. He's having the time of his life. My favorite boy, I adore Trubbish, and like, this is just some really good Trubbish. It's a good Trubbish, I love it. Very good. The particles are good. The vibes are good. Everything's good. Very, very cool. Next Toxtricity, we have this one by Ushinoki. Now, they've gone for this kind of, they've somehow made pastels look like more vibrant. I don't know. It's like a combination of like these soft pastel pieces mixed in with these like acidic greens and bright yellows, and it's just so, so beautiful. I adore the color palette on this. I love that you have this yellow light on the left coming from the big mohawk, but then on the right you have this green light coming from somewhere on his butt, and it just complements the purple so, so nicely. I really love it when people use green as a highlighting color for electricity. They do it in the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and I think it just looks so nice with like just little bits of green and lightning. Very nice. And again, like with the sparkles, the background is just so implied. Everything's very gestural. This is a very sketchy piece. It's very rough. There's no like harsh lines anywhere. It's just, oh my god, it's beautiful. Very good. But my favorite of the Toxtricities is this one by Nashiyama Hana. Oh my god, the vibes on this are, again, just so, so good. Almost all of the Toxtricities, like I said, portray some kind of like sesh happening. There's a party, everyone's having a great time. This is the between sets or just before he's about to go on Toxtricity. He's in the back alley, it's all quiet, nice quiet bit of Spikemuth. He's just thinking about what he's gonna be playing, or maybe he's coming up with some kind of new tune. It's just so chill, and like obviously he's got a little audience because he's a star. I adore how this entire piece has some kind of overlay on it that makes it almost look like an old VHS, or it looks kind of fuzzy. There's this like red and blue along all of the lines that make it look kind of like, you know when you put those 3D glasses on, it kind of gives that vibe, and it's just soft, it's film grainy, it's beautiful. Just such tranquil vibes from Toxtricity was so unexpected but so needed. On to the next one, we have the Pikachus. Again, this is one that was fairly heavily affected by the disqualified parties, but we have my favorites here. So we're starting with this one by Shihoso. I was able to find their socials, so as a reminder, please go and follow all of these artists if you can. Just so vibrant. This is so beach coded. Like if you've seen the artwork for the upcoming Honolulu Pokemon Worlds stuff, this is giving that. I adore just the blue and the orange line art, the bright pink. Like this person is not afraid of colors, and I love the texture of the brush they've chosen to tie it all together. So, so good, so poppy. It looks like it tastes like bubblegum. I adore it. My second favorite Pikachu is this one by Nmanma. It is in the category of pieces which are not done on Photoshop or Procreate or anything. This is a watercolor painting. It is so pretty. You can really tell, like, I think this is just a regular pencil sketch where they've just done all of the line art in pencil or maybe a really thin fine liner, and then they've just gone over it in this really just soft, well executed watercolor. Again, just immaculate vibes. I love the big stretch he's doing. Any cat owners or dog owners will recognize the big stretch. So cute. I adore this one, but it is not my favorite. My favorite Pikachu is this guy, who is also doing a big stretch. This one is by Kazuki Minami, and it is absolutely beautiful. I think that this one is a digital piece. I'm fairly sure that the plants in the background have been photo bashed somewhat. These look like they are collaged images of flowers, and then I think the pavement might be a paint over, but it is done so well. Very good. I love the cross hatching that you can see across the Pikachu's body, and just the pose is so good. Like the big yawn. Oh baby, very good. Absolutely gorgeous artwork. The pose, I think, is my favorite part. We have the Bidoofs. Again, there are so many Bidoofs. I don't know what was going on at the judging headquarters for the Pokemon TCG illustration contest, but they are really into their Bidoofs. Big sip. Ooh. First off, we have this one by Nakamura Yukako, and again, this is a physical media piece. Somewhere in this world exists this little felt Bidoof, as well as all of their little felt sticks and the little felt trees, and someone has set them all up all in a line and then taken a picture, put a light behind it, and that is what we've got. I adore how the light catches on the like fibers of this. It's such a strange material to go for. Just very cool that this has gotten through, and I wish it all the luck. It reminds me of those clay ones that you see. There's like an actual TCG artist that does like clay art, and very that. My second favorite Bidoof is this one by Amara Michaels. Oh my god, the vibes. The vibes are so good. Look at the vibes. Like, they're just having a little bath. They're just having a little bath moment. It's so cute. They're so precious little babies. I love how the water interacts with the reflections on the Pecha berries, and like the Bidoof underwater is slightly offset because that's just how light works. Yeah, this one's up here for vibes, mostly just for the vibes. On to the next. My favorite of the Bidoofs is this one by Shukiya Fumihide, and in a similar realm to the Pikachu from the previous group, the pose, it's so precious. It's so precious. He's a baby. If anyone's ever had a hamster, they often do this thing where like they forget how chubby their cheeks are, and they'll like get their head stuck, but they're quite squishy, so they'll like pull their head back and their little cheeks will go forward like this, and it's the cutest thing in the world. And that is what this guy's doing. He's got his little head stuck between some branches, and he's like, oh no, I'm stuck. He'll be all right. But yeah, literally just the facial expression on him. He looks like a Disney character almost with the way that this has been rendered. The background is very intricate. It's just the color scheme works really nicely. Again, I like the line art a lot. This one's mostly up for the pose, like with the Pikachu. Very cool. Now, as I said, I have 5 Flygons because I'm the one that makes the rules here. And I wanted 5 Flygons. I wanted 5 Flygons. So we're starting off with this one by Vanro, and the colors. Oh my god, the colors. The colors in this one are the reason I picked it. I love the variations on these like orange tones. It is so warm, but then it's offset with these blues you can see in the foreground and in the sky, like the red comet. Like even like we know Flygon's green, but this is just like this is a kind of orange color, but the way that they've done the whole thing, it works. Like that's meant to be green, it's a gray, but it looks green because your brain thinks it's green. It's so good. Vanro has a very good understanding of color, and I absolutely applaud them for that. Just very well done. My next favorite Flygon is this one by Juice, and it is just so simple. I think this is the most simple entrant in the entire contest. It is literally just a gradient on the background with the sun in front of it, a little bit of ground for grounding, because that's what ground does. And just the pose on the Flygon is so dynamic and simple and beautiful, and like just very well done. Absolutely fantastic use of space from Juice. Very good. Stunning. Again, this one here is through mostly for vibes. Like you can tell that this is like a cold, crisp morning over the desert. Like the temperature hasn't started rising yet, and this guy is just flying for the joy of flying. He's like in the middle of some kind of like big spiral, He's feeling the wind on his face and just absolutely loving life. I love how cool toned this piece is. Because Flygon is very associated with deserts, a lot of these are very warm in nature, whereas this artist has chosen to go for like a misty, cool toned, like the grays, everything is so desaturated, but it's just beautiful. Because so much of it is desaturated, the bits that are just pop out even more. Like you can see this little light catch on the bottom of the wing where it's sort of this bright yellow, same with the back of the neck, across the eye here, along the tail. It's beautiful. I love how the leg and the forelimb that are further away from the camera are more desaturated. They blend more into the background. Same with this wing. It is just so expertly done. Very well done to 10 here. We have this one by Kawasemi. Now, whereas the last one was sort of very intentionally devoid of color, this one is the opposite. Like, it is so colorful. I adore it. Like, the Flygon itself is fairly standard colors, like a little bit more saturated than you'd usually expect. Like, we have this like super bright green complementing this more kind of like brownish green across it. And then we have this like super red on the wing and the eye. But just the colors in the smoke is so good. Like usually when you see dust clouds, like it's just a boring brown color. This person was like, nah, it's gonna be pink, it's gonna be purple, it's gonna be blue, it's gonna be orange, it's gonna be all the colors of the rainbow. And it is so, so well done. I think this is a really good case of adding extra color into your scene without overcomplicating it. Because you can really tell where the Flygon starts and the scene and ends, you know? Like the Flygon is all of these bright reds, bright greens, whereas the background is all these like little fairy tones. It's all purple, pink, and blue. It's just a really good use of color. But it's not my favorite Flygon, because this is my favorite Flygon by Ido. When it comes to use of color, probably not as good as the other ones I've shown us. However, the sunburst in this is so, so clever. I absolutely love just how like graphic and geometric they've made the sun on this. Like the reason I picked this one specifically to be number one is imagine what this would look like as a holo. Oh my God. If they replaced all of this white with just holographic, would this not be one of the most beautiful cards you've ever seen? Oh my God, absolutely stunning work by Ido. Absolutely gorgeous. I want it. I want it and I need it. Now, out of all of the Pokemon that we could have drawn, I feel like this is probably my least favorite. However, there are some good entries, such as this one by Gotch. Now, this one is completely symmetrical and it works because Melmetal is an inorganic Pokemon. The idea of having such a symmetrical, same on each side thing going on really, really works with it. I love that this looks like it could be a block print because the colors are so limited. You can really imagine that this would have been, I mean, like the piece itself is digital, but it looks like it could be a real life print. It is absolutely beautiful. Yeah, colors really nice. I love how he's just vibing in a pool of lava. Me when the bath is too hot. My second favorite of the Melmetals is this one by Go Health. I think the composition is fairly simple. However, I absolutely adore how they have rendered the metallic part of Melmetal's body to reflect its environment. Like you can fully imagine this guy like sat in a field in like, again, Breath of the Wild. Like you can imagine like that bit near Kakariko Village where it overlooks Hyrule Field. I imagine like he's just sat down there, like just looking out over the landscape with his little kids around him, and the light is just shining off of his body. Like you can see like on his leg here, it's just reflecting the field he sat on, and here it's reflecting the sky, and it's just so, so well done. Like Go Health has a very good understanding of how to render metal in a simple way. Very good. But my favorite is actually this one by Jet Ink. And the reason it's my favorite is I like purple. I really like the color scheme for this one. I love that you can see the environment it's in and how the colors on the background have been done and how they reflect in the Melmetal itself. Like obviously it's in the junkyard, you can see the claw behind it. I struggled not to do the alien impression from Toy Story there. And then there's just this yellow light coming from behind where there's some kind of sunset. The colors are just beautiful. I really enjoy this one by Jet Ink. Very good. And it is, of course, my favorite Melmetal. And the last category, the most important, some would say, is Charizard. Now, obviously, Charizard always gets a lot of extra love from the Pokemon Company. And honestly, that's the reason when I was making my own entries for this, I did make a Charizard for that reason. Because Charizard cards are the expensive ones, so if I got a card that won as a Charizard card, it would be even more iconic. It was tactical. However, Charizard itself is great. My first pick for the Charizard category is this one by Nathan Collins, and again, I think I'm biased in picking this one because it is constructed so similarly to the one that I made. It's literally just flipped and at night. Like, it's very, very similar, but I think they went a lot less crazy with the colors, even though they did kind of go crazy with the colors. The contrast between the Charizard and the background is very, very nice. I like the colors in the clouds, the blue and the purple, very cool, and just the big gold spiral. I love a good Fibonacci spiral inspired piece, and this person has done it to a very nice degree. So well done, Nathan Collins. You are my third favorite Charizard. My second favorite is this one by Yu. Now, when it comes to the cards that were submitted for this has one of my less favorite backgrounds. I don't really vibe with a lot of it, to be honest. However, oh my god, the pose on this Charizard is absolutely insane. Like, they pushed the limits on what they could get away with for a pose. They were like, okay, we're gonna have a buttload of perspective. He's gonna be doing the biggest pose a Charizard has ever done. He's gonna be like squishy face to the max. Like, oh my goodness, you just pushed this Charizard as far as it can go. So cool. I love the way that they've done the line art. It's this like combination of cross hatching, and then they've changed the color on a lot of the line art to like show that it's in light. I like the brush they've used. There's like a little bit of texture going on in it. Just, oh my god, the perspective, it's so well done. As someone that struggles with perspective a lot, like, I'm jealous of this. Like, again, it's a shame that the background kind of lets it down a little bit. I don't like this like brownish muddy color they've gone for a lot of it. Like, on the bright side, we can tell where it is. We know he's in a stadium, but like the Charizard itself is just so good. However, it is not my favorite Charizard. What is my favorite Charizard is, again, one of my top 3 pieces for the entire competition. We have this one by Rachel Liu, which is just absolutely stunning. You have a Charizard flying up above the cloud layer, and it sees a Minior falling from space next to it. This is one of the softest images I've ever seen. Like, we have the tranquil sky, and then just the soft clouds below, and then the whole thing is bathed in this gorgeous pink light coming off of this Minior. It is so well done. Like, look at the way this light interacts with the orange on the rest of the Charizard. Like, you can see it like through the edges of the wing, and then you have like the blue highlights from below on its face. Just the facial expression on him. He's like, whoa, there's a Minior here? What's this? And just, again, immaculate vibes, and like the little touches of stars across the whole thing. Like, look at this little guy. Look at him. Is he not good? Absolutely gorgeous piece from Rachel Liu. And that actually brings me to the end of my list of art I like. So thank you very much for listening, and let's get back to the rest of the video. And for anyone curious, here's a little look at the 3 entries that I made that didn't make the cut this year. In hindsight, I know why none of them made it, but I'm still super proud of what I've made. The first of the 3 was the Koraidon. For all 3, I took to my socials to choose the composition, and you guys chose the sandwich. Typically, my artwork is fairly line-heart focused, but I used actual card art experience I have with the Elestrals TCG. Shout out to all my Elestrals guys out there. For the art I made for that TCG, everything is mostly based on shapes and forms that are rendered down to make them appear somewhat 3D. I combined that process with what I do for my own art and ended up with this hybrid art style that I'm super proud of. Finally, here's a look at the new entrants that made it. Huge congratulations to Hitoya Sumi, Akira, Tenten, Kumakis, EJB CYA, and Daisuke Uno for making the cut. To summarize, I think that this whole ordeal, while fairly entertaining, has been a real eye-opener for everyone involved. I hope that going forward that TPCI will consider the current state of the art world and modern technology into their competitions, and take more care to screen for malignant individuals that look to exploit them. And I hope that artists and non-artists alike have learnt a little bit about the effect that AI has on our modern world. I'm super happy for everyone that made the top 300, and I can't wait to see who wins. And I hope that this has all been a huge lesson for next year. Thank you so much for watching, and stay strong against the robot overlords.